Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be revealing a team that I've actually had really good results with in the Open Grade League, despite it being a pretty anti-meta team. Now, this team is built around Runerigus. This Pokemon was suggested to me by Exeggutor, and it ended up performing quite nicely. I'm using Runerigus on the lead with Brutal Swing and Rock Tomb, Fortress as the safe switch as needed, and Regidrago as the closer. The goal of the team, however, is to try and fight for alignment with the Runerigus, and then Regidrago Fortress core in alignment is very, very strong. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and in game number 1, we pick up a pretty solid lead, Runerigus into Talonflame. Obviously, Runerigus has access to double super effective Rock Tomb. My opponent is going to know this. They're never going to let this move land, but getting to apply a debuff is really nice for Runerigus. I'm just going to be no shielding here, anticipating they're probably not going to go for the Brave Bird, and they do not. Now, I will just be firing off the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing will not knock out here, my opponent can survive this, but my goal is basically just to try and play for a one shield win. Because if I can get alignment, Fortress and Regidrago are both very powerful with switch advantage. So now my opponent has to decide, are they willing to go down 2 shields for swap? They say no, and they're going to bring out Jumpluff. This is great. Jumpluff gets deleted by Fortress, so I get to bring in Fortress in the back, is Annihilate, and now I bring in Regidrago. This game could be a little bit scary. Thankfully, it is the regular Annihilate, but I think I may need a Breaking Swipe debuff to ensure that I survive the counters. It's a 50-50 chance. Breaking Swipe does get the debuff, and that means that Regidrago will not get farmed down here. My opponent is going to buff up their attack, hoping the next counter will knock out, but it does not. Regidrago hangs on, making one final Breaking Swipe. Down goes Annihilate, in comes Fortress, and they know there's just not really a way for Jumpluff to take that win, so they will resign the match. Moving into game number 2, we pick up a pretty nice lead, Runerigus into Corviknight. Corviknight is going to get immediately debuffed by Rock Tomb, meaning that a Pokemon that already doesn't do a lot of damage is going to do even less. They're going to safe switch out of this matchup into Acid Credilli, and now it's time for Fortress to shine. Fortress just has such a commanding matchup here. I haven't even thrown a move yet, and these Bug Bites are just deleting my opponent. My goal is to try and leave myself as low as possible and with a Rock Tomb, so that way I will get some nice damage, or well, not nice damage because I'm -2, I've been debuffed twice, but at least some chip damage onto that Corviknight. So I'm able to pick up the KO with the Sand Tomb, and now I get to fire off Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb is going to land, aggressive pivot back into the Runerigus. In the back is going to be Shadow Sableye. Sableye, let's immediately lower their damage output with the Rock Tomb. Now, I can try and get to a second Rock Tomb. My opponent does not want to go down both shields, so they will end up throwing a move. But with this sneak, suddenly, I may be able to make double Brutal Swing. So, I'm going to fire off the Brutal Swing, opponent is going to end up shielding, and I'm going to make one final Brutal Swing right before they're able to farm me down. This is very nice. Sableye's low enough that I can snipe down with one Bug Bite, denying all of their energy. And Corviknight, which has been dancing in and out of the battlefield all game, trying to reset Rock Tomb debuffs, now can finally throw its charge attacks at full power, but Regidrago still has a shield. That snipe down with the Bug Bite is just game winning. My opponent realizes it, and they will resign the match. Picking up a pretty solid lead in the next match, Runerigus into Shadow Typhlosion, opponent safe switches into Lapras, and oh no, we are about to absolutely feast with Fortress. My goal with Fortress is basically to try and exit with residual energy, so that way I can threaten super effective damage onto the Typhlosion. They're going to fire off a second Sparkling Aria. I'm farming up just shy of their third Sparkling Aria to fire off my own Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb will pick up the knockout. In comes Typhlosion. I could have done an extra Bug Bite or two there, but I just wanted to guarantee this damage. Sand Tomb is going to land. In comes Regidrago. Oh no, they are running ABA Weak to Regidrago, and Regidrago is about to just completely sweep this game. Superior will go for the Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant is the correct move to go for. I farm up well past the Dragon Energy. My thoughts here is they have to commit shields to the Superior. They don't have a win con without it. So I bait with the Breaking Swipe, get a shield and a debuff, and my opponent will resign the match. Tough lead in the next match, Runerigus into Shadow Drapion. I save switch into Fortress. Out comes Talonflame. Obviously, not the best alignment so far, but Fortress is always able to force a shield from Talonflame, which is very nice. So Talonflame is going to get a farm down, but now, after tabbing in and out to ensure I don't get that one-turn Brigand lag, I can bring in Runerigus. They're debuffed, so I will tank whatever they throw here, and now I will end up firing off the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing will not knock out, but I just want damage to potentially put them into a range where I can Dragon Breath down with Regidrago later on. So now my opponent will go for another fly. I barely hang on. In comes Regidrago, but it's a simul swap Regidrago into Shadow Dusclops. Shadow Dusclops is going to bait with a Shadow Punch. I continue to farm, and here, this is just entirely on me. I forgot that with 6, it can be a Shadow Punch plus Ice Punch. So that's entirely just a counting error on my part. For some reason, I thought it was 7. It is not. With 6, you can have a Shadow Punch and an Ice Punch. And taking that damage, unfortunately, probably just sinks me in this game as I'm just too low on the Regidrago. I fire off the Breaking Swipe bait. I do get the debuff, but unfortunately, Drapion's doubled up. I'm so close to the Dragon Energy, but I do not have it. And this game is going to be a loss. I think potentially if I played this game slightly cleaner, maybe there was a chance. But unfortunately, this game is just going to be a loss. We move to the next match, picking up a pretty nice lead, Runerigus into Shadow Jumpluff. Runerigus is able to make the Rock Tomb when they make the Acrobatics, and Runerigus wins Charge Attack priority, which means not only do I get massive super effective damage, but I've now debuffed them, ensuring that I can survive in Acrobatics plus Aerial Ace. My opponent will just opt for the Aerial Ace here. They know if they try and get the Acrobatics, I can just make it to the Rock Tomb, so they settle for the Aerial Ace. And now, they try for a Brutal Swing catch onto Lapras, but I'm able to react in time, connect with the Rock Tomb, and bring out Fortress. Fortress is just now in a completely commanding position where my opponent is already debuffed. So, I'm not even going to throw a move. I think I'm just going to fully farm all the way down with Fortress. This means I'm going to exit with so much energy, my opponent cannot afford to bring back in the Jumpluff, as Jumpluff is going to get absolutely shredded. They're already pretty low. They're going to send out their final Pokemon. Oh no, it's Drapion, and they were running a team that was triple weak to the Fortress. Rock Tomb lands, in comes the Jumpluff. Jumpluff is going to make a move, but they just have no fast move pressure into this Fortress. How are they going to get rid of this Fortress? Honestly, it's going to be really tough because they can never farm me down. Now, I will get to fire off the Rock Tomb. Sand Tomb is super effective, but I just want to apply attack drops here, and I know that Rock Tomb will do more damage than Sand Tomb. I think Sand Tomb has great value on Fortress, but in matchups like these, I know that I just need whatever damage that I can possibly get. So now Drapion will finally get to pick up the KO with Aqua Tail just for Regidrago to hit the field. They're already very heavily debuffed. Crunch is going to do absolutely nothing. Regidrago gets an easy farm down, and we're able to take the win. Bit of a tricky lead in the next match here, leading into Shadow Scizor. Runerigus does outpace Shadow Scizor. It's 5-4 to Brutal Swing, whereas it's straight 5 to Night Slash. So if Scizor just goes straight Night Slash, then Runerigus does actually have the ability to win the 2-shield. However, if they end up going for Trailblaze, things suddenly feel a lot more scary as those boosted Bullet Punches can get the farm down. So after forcing the final shield, I just hard pivot into the Fortress, hoping my opponent throws energy, but they don't. They bank a ton of energy, and it's going to be a Jellicent hitting the field. Jellicent, not a particularly common Pokemon, but an uncomfortable one for Fortress. Bug Bites honestly don't really look that resistant in this matchup, as they still do a considerable amount of damage to the Jellicent. I will make a second Rock Tomb before they're able to make it to their Surf, which means this can set up a nice farm down for the Regidrago. That honestly works out nicely for me. I'll always take a couple Dragon Breaths head start, but they undercharge the Surf and force a simul KO. That's a really nice play from my opponent. I know the Shadow Scizor is pretty close to 2 moves. I think they're on 9 Bullet Punches. Regidrago is met with a Dusclops in the back, and that, I think, is probably going to be a bit too much for me to win against. If they didn't have all that Scizor energy, I would feel very comfortable. My opponent bails on a Shadow Punch, so I know this cannot be the Ice Punch. It is only going to be the Shadow Punch, and there is that Shadow Scizor hitting the field. Scizor will fire off the Night Slash. I'm going to switch into Runerigus. The Shadow Claw lands. Do I have enough HP on Regidrago to win this game? Regidrago hits the field, gets the farm down, and I'm going to need a Breaking Swipe plus a Dragon Energy. It's going to be so close. Breaking Swipe gets the debuff. We do not get there. Oh, Regidrago almost able to pull off that win. We've got our dream lead in the next match, Unova Stunfisk versus our Runerigus. They save switch Golisopod, and I will immediately respond with the Fortress. Fortress, if you switch fast enough, can get the Rock Tomb before they make their next move, but unfortunately I was a little slow on the swap, so I will be forced to go down a shield. If my opponent does end up no-shielding here, I believe Sand Tomb should allow me to Bug Bite down before they make their next move, and then I'm just going to pivot back into the Runerigus. My opponent actually ends up shielding, and this works out well for me. Even if it is the common team that has Galarian Moltres in the back, being up energy on Runerigus should be really good for me. My opponent is not running the Galarian Moltres version. Instead, it's a Superior in the back. Superior is getting a debuff with a Rock Tomb, and then in comes Regidrago. My opponent doesn't really have any good options here. They're going to stay in to fire off a debuffed Frenzy Plant, and then bring out the Unova Stunfisk. Not only does this misalign the switch clocks, which is favorable for me, but also, I don't really think they have a better play in this moment because Regidrago is just ABA strong into their team, so they just don't really have a lot they can do here. My opponent is going to outpace, and this is where I use the final shield of the match. Regidrago is going to win charge attack priority against Superior, so I just bank a move, and then I can send out the Runerigus. They're forced to throw energy, or I can just farm them down. They were still switch locked, so this does burn their timer, but now when they bring in Superior, I just fire off the Rock Tomb. They can't afford to shield because I have a move loaded on my Regidrago, so they end up no shielding. It's the Rock Tomb. I'm able to get the farm down, and now out comes Unova Stunfisk. Unova Stunfisk will get CMP tied here as I fire off Brutal Swing, and Brutal Swing will pick up the KO, and even though we lost switch, we're just so strong into that Mon that we're able to take the win. Dream lead in the next match. Oh my goodness, Runerigus into Gligar. Gligar, unfortunately, its Fury Cutters do absolutely nothing into a Ghost Ground type. They save switch into Drapion, and I get to respond with Fortress. My Fortress, being as high rank as it is really advantageous in this matchup, because normally, Fortresses that aren't quite as good of IV would actually get knocked out by the second crunch. But I can survive the second crunch pretty comfortably. So they're going to go for the crunch, I'm able to tank that, and I mean, it's comfortable by your opponent has Poison Sting standards. Like, they're never going to be able to farm me down. They're going to shield. Oh my, the Bug Bites shred them, and they lose both shields and switch advantage, and that is just devastating, as now I get to bring in Runerigus, and even Runerigus by itself can probably just close out this game. My opponent will go for the Surf Bait, grabbing my first shield, but I'm already almost at the back-to-back Brutal Swings, and that should be enough to KO the Jellicent. Brutal Swing number 1 is going to land. There is Brutal Swing number 2. That's going to be the end of Jellicent, and unfortunately, all they have left is that Gligar from the beginning of the match, and I'm still not even in a range where Dig will KO. I'm going to go for the Brutal Swing first. It appears that I will need a Brutal Swing and a Rock Tomb. My opponent will fire off their energy. They're hoping that a Dig can knock out here, but it just doesn't. The fact that I so heavily resist the Fury Cutters is incredibly, incredibly nice. Now, I get the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb will be KOing Gligar, and we take the win without revealing our third. We see a familiar foe in the next match, Runerigus into Shadow Scizor. Scizor throws the Night Slash, and this is actually really, really nice, because if they go straight Night Slash, I can win the 2s. Well, now I can't win the 2s. They get a Night Slash boost. Oh no, and that is absolutely terrible. I'm getting destroyed by these +2 bullet punches. I'm gonna force both shields, but my goodness, a +2 Shadow Scizor is kind of just an auto win button for my opponent. That is just devastating. I am going to be no-shielding Night Slash, rocks the Fortress, out comes Galarian Corsola. Galarian Corsola will immediately be debuffed here by a Rock Tomb. They are going to get a farm down, unfortunately. Here, I think that I can actually make a move on Runerigus. So, I'm going to bring in the Rune, and then I realize that I can't get there, and that was a misplay. Entirely my fault right there. I should not have done that. I should have just brought in the Regidrago, but for some reason, I thought that I was going to survive the third Astonish, and it turns out I definitely could not. So great understanding by my opponent to just fully farm down there. In the back is going to be a Blastoise. Blastoise monstrously bulky. One of the few things that can actually survive a neutral Dragon Energy. That still does huge damage, but it's just not enough. And Scizor wins charge attack priority over Regidrago. They did bank a Night Slash, so my only hope is that they're in 1 Dragon Breath range, but they are not. Shadow Scizor has just enough bulk to withstand the Dragon Breath. Night Slash KOs, and they get a second boost for the road. Hopping into the final match, we are greeted once again by a Unova Stunfisk lead. I don't have a great answer to a Sableye safe swap, so I'm just going to chip it with a Brutal Swing. Sableye is going to no shield, and then in comes Regidrago. I absolutely have to respect the Dazzling Gleam that would probably one-shot. Well, I actually don't know if it would one-shot. I just assume it will, so I shield it. It ends up being a foul play bait, and they get farmed down before they can make another. Back in comes Unova Stunfisk, and this tells me that they don't have an amazing response to a Regidrago, which is great news for me, because Dragon Energy just hits so absurdly hard neutrally. Mud Bomb is going to land, Regidrago is going to play 2 charge attack priority, denying my opponent's move unless they commit the shield. My opponent is going to let that go, and in the back is going to be Golisopod, and I should just be able to win this game with Fortress at this point. So Runerigus unfortunately kind of takes a backseat in this final match. It did a nice job of chipping down the Sableye, but my opponent was just very soft to my backline. My opponent knows this is only a Sand Tomb, but whether they shield it or not, they're still getting farmed down as the Bug Bite pressure is just too much. These Bug Bites, oh my goodness. They're going to make one final charge attack, and that's just not going to be a problem. We survive the Aqua Jet, get the farm down, and that is a good game. All in all, I did have quite a bit of fun with this Runerigus team, and it ended up working a lot better than I expected. To be fair, I think most teams can probably be improved by putting a Regidrago on them, as Regidrago just has incredible neutrals, but I felt like Runerigus ended up being a really nice setup mon. There were so many times where I was able to debuff something, switch into a different matchup, and it just made that matchup so incredibly easy once they had been Rock Tomb debuffed. So I really enjoyed Runerigus. I know Arceus Aurelius was able to, I believe, day 2 at NAIC with Runerigus, so I think it's a Pokemon that can be a bit of a core breaker. I by no means think this is a top meta mon, but I think it's a really interesting anti-meta mon. It has a lot of play into a lot of the mons that are really good, and I like the fact that it has a lot of play into Scizor. Obviously, the 2 Scizor leads that I saw didn't end up going great for me. That Night Slash boost was devastating, but I think Runerigus is a really cool pick, and I was kind of just more expecting to run this team for fun, so this team working as well as it did genuinely surprise me quite a bit. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated, so thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.